So we pulled Heiko out of the jungle for one last discussion for the fish files. I wanted to make it a little more intellectual because the main focus of our whole program here is to get beginners into the hobby and keep them in the hobby, keep them successful. But in doing so, we come across people like Heiko. And I thought, well, here's a guy who is here from the beginning. He knows how these fish are found, how they're classified, and how they're put back into the fish trade. For instance, the cardinal tetra, before it became the #1 seller in Europe and the second biggest seller in the aquarium trade in the US, south behind stinky glowfish, it was anonymously swimming around in the jungles of the Amazon River basin until Herbert Axelrod, and Heiko was there at the time too, went on a jungle exploration classifying fish, found this amazing creature, found places to propagate it, and got into the aquarium trade. So this is an episode about how all that comes about, how a new species, once it's discovered, how do you put a name to it? Who does that? I think Heiko can clear that all up for us.
Maybe I should mention this, that you have here the rainbow Melaleucania braycocks.
Yep.
Until 1981, 82, no one knew this fish. But the fish was described in 1910. And I was always after it. New Guinea is the second largest island in the world. And Amazon are the two regions I travel every year, once, twice, or more times. And I remember this back for more than 50 years. Those are my two destinations every year.
But the dwarf peacock's rainbow now are ubiquitous. I mean, I can get them from Florida and from Indonesian breeders, Singapore breeders. They become a must-have for the wholesalers.
And they are beautiful fish, no?
Yeah.
Except that the male has always red fins and the female yellow fins. No? But they have been breeding them since. I've collected only 13 specimens. And I took them 2 weeks to get them out of the jungle into Jakarta. But in Jakarta, is Indonesia, is where they breed them. And I visited one breeder that's breeding 5 million every month.
Oh, yeah.
Sell them all over the world.
We actually featured them on an earlier show as one of the 10 easiest fish to keep.
Yeah, it's totally easy.
Yeah.
I always try to find fishes which have been described but have never been seen alive, you see. And Braycock was one. You can imagine, for 60 some years, no one had seen this fish.
Quick question, since I'm not a zoologist. It's been described, but it hasn't been seen.
Seen alive.
But it has to be seen to be described.
No, 99% of all the species described, if birds or fishes or frogs or insects, they are described from dead ones, dead specimens.
Okay.
There's no animal, not that I know of, that was ever described from a live one.
Okay.
Because there has to be what is called the holotype. No? The first one ever collected must be preserved, and originally in formalin, and then in alcohol. This is why the museums worldwide are full with fishes in jars. And from this comes a description. And the funny thing is, it was at least for 150, maybe 200 years that scientists who described new species, they never knew the color of the species.
Interesting.
And these braycocks,
it's like dinosaurs.
These braycocks, when Weber, it was a Dutchman who described it, he wrote in his description, you can read it, it's a transparent, colorless fish. So he had never seen it alive. He had never known that it has one of the most beautiful colors. Yeah, the first description was, I mentioned earlier, 1910 by Weber, and he described it as a transparent fish.
So
no color. And I said this cannot be.
I'm just curious. I just picture a guy in the 1910s in like the Smithsonian or someplace with a bunch of preserved species from a exploration, and they come in now. He's got to classify them. If they're new, he can put a name to them. And is that kind of how it works? And then no one actually in your case, you have to kind of rediscover the fish to actually know what it looks like and breeding.
Well, that's what I have always been after. I searched millions of descriptions to find out where is the type locality, where have they actually been found. It's not always easy in old literature where it was found. People who describe the fish in the past, today it's different, but in the past they had no GPS data. They did not have the exact time of the year when it was collected, because depending if it's high water or low water, you cannot collect many fish species. When the water is too high, they disappear, so you cannot know the exact location where it lives and has been found. The point is, a description of any species has to be scientifically done, and this is very, very complicated process.
Okay.
I've done it with the best scientists around the world in my magazine. You can see it on my website. It's called Aqua, International Journal of Ichthyology. Aqua, International Journal of Ichthyology. We described
Sounds like some very serious reading.
Hundreds of new species.
Uh-huh.
And there you have the complete work, and you see how difficult it is. Because not only the guy who works on this species must know the genera, he must know the family, and possibly the order. And when he finally found out, comparing it with other specimens from museums around the world, he says, yes, this can be described as a new species. And then he writes up the paper, and this paper then goes to the 3 top scientists in the world to confirm that this is a good description for a new species. If 1 out of 3 declines it, it will not be published.
Wow, that's so interesting.
It's very, very difficult. It's not that you can just collect a fish and name it. It's not the way it works.
Yeah.
And this publication, which gives the standard of how to describe a species, is called the Bible of Ichthyology, and it's published anew every 10 years.
Okay, all right. And your book, one more time, on Indian species is
Ornamental Fishes of India.
Fishes of India.
Ornamental Fishes of India. I think next month it will come out. Gobioids of the World, Volume 1. And this also has...
Which is for us hobbyists, gobies?
No, well, no.
I'm the worst ichthyologist, and I'm in the trade.
All of my books are for both, no? For ichthyologists and for hobbyists and for public aquariums, for everything. It's a reference book for the fishes.
Okay.
There's no reference book like this of fishes, not of India, not of anywhere. It's because I worked with this all my life. My mother did, my grandfather. So anyhow, it's not that easy as people think. And I'm always surprised when people go to the Amazon. They all go only to Peru. Every fish they find, they think it's new. It's not that easy. No, definitely not.
Huh. Oh.
Yes, it's a lot of work, and you don't get paid for it. No?
Well, you would be one of the wealthiest men on the planet if you did.
Exactly. Yeah. I wouldn't have to try to get money for every expedition and get sponsorship for the books.
Well, I'm looking forward to more books from you. And,
yeah, there are 3 new books coming out this year. 2 will be printed this summer, Northern Hemisphere summer. And the 4th one, my autobiography, I hope...
That one sounds interesting.
End of the year. But this is another monster.
Yeah.
No one will believe the stories I wrote.
Again, this has been a treat, and Heiko Bleher, the premier aquarist in the world, was kind enough to come and just share a little bit of his knowledge with us. Thank you very, very much. All right, so Heiko generously allowed me to go on his next exploration. We're going to I'm going to butcher this, I got to read it. Up the Unilla River in the Columbia Amazon River Basin, to the Hispanic people listening to this, please forgive me, Chiribiquita mountain range, which has never before been explored, at least for fish species. I'm sure people have been there before. But for fish species, this will be the first time. So if I don't come back, we're going to try and get a couple more episodes done before I leave. Does anyone know where to get a typhoid shot? So anyways, have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.